Legend of Exorcism. Chapter 109. The plum dies in lieu of the peach. The third question, Li Jinglong said. If I gain the 6 artifacts of Akala and kill the heart devil, will that produce the same result as destroying the seed of Mara? Hung Jun's heart leapt into his throat. Yuan Kun remained silent for a long time, before he raised his head. Thousands of counters rolled in this huge cage. Li Jinglong hadn't asked about the future, and Yuan Kun did not give him any information about it. Instead, he narrowed the eyes of that glowing form that he had created, watching the cage of counters. Hung Jun held his breath. He knew that this question would determine his life and death. Li Jinglong had used a very clever method to ask. He hadn't asked about the future, nor had he asked if he would be the one to kill Hung Jun, or if he would be the one to get rid of An Lushan. That may work, Yuan Kun replied. May. Li Jinglong repeated. May, Yuan Kun nodded. Li Jinglong asked, where are the other 5 artifacts? I don't know, Yuan Kun said. I cannot see them either. There is a patch of darkness in the future that has blocked my vision. The furthest I can see is a conclusion that may happen. Believe me, it will come much faster than you expect. Li Jinglong didn't ask any more, sinking into silence. Hung Jun asked uneasily, then, how about me? Yuan Kun said to Hung Jun, I know the unease that you feel towards the future. Do you want to see it? You can also choose to ask 3 questions of me as well. Hung Jun thought for a moment. Li Jinglong seemed to have something to say, but after he opened his mouth to speak, he changed his mind. Instead, he said to Hung Jun, do as you wish. With that, Hung Jun said to Yuan Kun, I want to know what happens to me and him in the future. How far in the future? Yuan Kun asked, as easily as passing clouds. How about 10 years later? Hung Jun's reasoning was this: no matter how long this issue dragged on, perhaps 10 years later, it would have already been resolved. Yuan Kun raised a hand, and the counters once again began to roll. In an instant, all of the counters froze in the air, coming to a halt. That is hard to say, Yuan Kun murmured. What I can see does not necessarily reach as far as 10 years in the future. But just as Hung Jun was about to ask, Yuan Kun slowly turned around, pressing one hand to his forehead. In that instant, white light burst forth, like countless stars appearing for the first time as the heavens and the earth split, and time began to pass by in that flow of light. Countless images passed him by, and Hung Jun found himself on a battlefield, kneeling on the ground, holding someone who was mortally wounded in his arms. However, that wasn't Li Jinglong, but rather Qiu Yangxi. Qiu Yangxi heaved up large mouthfuls of blood, and Hung Jun shouted anxiously, yet he could not hear his own voice. His surroundings were colored by blood, and when he raised his head, he saw Xiaoyu, burning in black flames, flying through the air. The scenery changed again, and he saw Chang'an burning in a sea of flames. In an open field, Yang Yahuan glowed with a golden light, rising into the sky. He wanted to shout loudly, yet he could not make any sound. A deity, wrapped in the beauty of the pentacolor sacred light, came flying to him from the horizon, its tail feathers streaming behind it. It said something to him quietly, and another colossus glowing with golden light, clad in golden armor, wielding a golden sword, came racing after it. The incarnation of Mahamayuri in front of it swiftly flew into the sky, flying towards the horizon, engaging that colossus in a battle. When Hung Jun raised his head to look towards the sky, everything vanished in an instant. A spring breeze blew past, through a city filled with wispy willows, and sunlight shone down. He had been turned into a spirit, and he found himself rising into the air above in a small alley. The spring wind and the peach blossoms dancing on the breeze followed after him, and the sky was as blue as if it had been just washed. Hung Jun was bathed in the sunlight, and he suddenly felt a sense of warm sleepiness. The divine and earthly veins wove through the air, converging with each other, and the divine land was completely cleansed, devoid of any resentment. He saw a child run in from outside the alley. "Dad, Dad!" That little kid shouted loudly as he lifted the hanging screen aside, peeking in. Li Jinglong walked out, bending over and kneeling down to say something into that kid's ear. That kid smiled and pointed outside, saying, "Mom told you to get some money and bring it over." Li Jinglong simply picked him up and pressed a kiss to his cheek. The father and son talked, but halfway through their conversation, that child went to go retrieve the teacups left in the hallway. He drank a little water to relieve his thirst, and Li Jinglong, frowning deeply, asked that child another question. Hung Jun simply watched that child quietly. Not long after, Li Jinglong came out and picked him up, and father and son went out the door together. A gust of wind blew by from behind Hung Jun, sending the leaves of the willows flying into the air. In that instant, everything turned into points of light that flew off into the distance. "Hung Jun." Li Jinglong's voice sounded warmly in his ear. When Hung Jun opened his eyes, he found that he was already outside the city of Chang'an. He was lying in Li Jinglong's arms, and the two of them were in an open field, sitting under a tree. "The Kun God left," Li Jinglong said. He then asked, concerned, "What did you see?" Tears shimmered faintly in Hung Jun's eyes, and he reached out his hand, stroking Li Jinglong's cheek. "I saw a future," Hung Jun said. "A future that I want." "Were we all alive?" Li Jinglong asked uneasily. Hung Jun replied quietly. "Where were we?" Hung Jun shook his head. He didn't tell Li Jinglong about his future. He simply smiled and said, "I don't know." "Get up." Li Jinglong pulled him to his feet, and as they went back to Chang'an, Li Jinglong kept a tight hold on his hand, as if he would never let go. 3 days earlier, the city of Chang'an had been decorated with lights, and main streets and small alleys alike were filled with lanterns celebrating the birthday of Yang Yahuan. The palace had also long since prepared fireworks, which were to be set off 3 days hence, at night. The 8 gates of Chang'an were open wide, and people flooded in like the tide. For a time, the western capital was filled with almost 1 million people. The Hu people of the western regions, the Simu people, envoys from every country, all of them mingled with each other, and the wine shops and way stations in both the eastern and western markets were packed with customers. In the Angzi military manner, Mo Regen stood in front of An Lushan, resentment rising from him. He wore a set of black leather armor, and there was a sharpness about those eyebrows that were normally relaxed and open. His lips were thin like that of a sharp sword, and there was an icy, dark intent about his expression. He walked forward, lifting the list of names that had been placed on the table, lowering his head and unfurling the list. "These are the people that you need to go kill," An Lushan said, smiling affably. After Mo Regen opened it up, the first name that entered his gaze was Hang Olan. He looked down the list, only to see yet another one, Geshu Han. The last one was Imperial Censor Feng Changqing. "I know them all," Mo Regen replied. "Hang Olan is a merchant who has taken up permanent residence in Chang'an. Why kill him first?" Next to An Lushan, a black-robed warrior replied, "Hang Olan is a merchant of the western regions who has made his residence in Chang'an, and he is also the head of the underground market. Now that we have the chance, Mara requires him to be eliminated." Mo Regen glanced suspiciously at An Lushan, but he didn't continue to ask. "Why do you know him?" An Lushan held his wine cup, drinking the dark red grape wine unconcernedly. "I know him from when Li Jinglong once had us go by Lihun Palan," Mo Regen said. "I'll act tonight." "Very good," An Lushan said. "Wanbao will take his form, and on the day of the imperial consort's birthday, we will attack at once." That black-robed man, Wanbao, who had spoken before, nodded at Mo Regen. "The second is Geshu Han," another black-robed man said to Mo Regen. "Killing Geshu Han should be very simple to you. A few days ago, he entered the city, and his troops have made camp outside the city walls. Mo Rejin replied, if I kill him, his troops will revolt. Naturally, Wan Feng will take his place, and Lushan chuckled. Hangolan is greedy, while Geshuhan is easily moved to rage. It is not impossible to copy their innate qualities, then follow things to their logical conclusion and secretly steal the beams and change out the pillars. Mo Rejin nodded, before asking, what about Feng Changqing? And Lushan replied easily, Feng Changqing does not need to be killed in this way. Poison him. I want to see what countermeasures Li Jinglong has prepared. Kong Hongjun is well versed in the arts of medicine, Mo Rejin said. He can cure any poison. Why not cast a spell on Feng Changqing as well? Then, when Li Jinglong sees that Feng Changqing seems to have been poisoned, he will definitely ask Kong Hongjun to cure him. When that time comes, then have the spell attack the seal in Kong Hongjun's body. That way, you can use one arrow to shoot two eagles. As he finished speaking, the hall fell silent. A long time later, and Lushan said slowly, very good. As expected, you have schemes that are not second to Li Jinglong's. Let's do as you say. I'll give you 7 days time to deal with these 3 people. Go ba. What about the rest of the people in the exorcism department? Mo Rejin asked. If they aren't gotten rid of, the situation may change. After Feng Changqing is poisoned, the exorcism department will naturally be lured out, and Lushan replied. At that time, as long as Wan Bao and Wan Feng can hold their positions, you and I will attack together and catch them all in one fell swoop. Mo Rejin nodded, bowing and taking his leave. And Lushan watched Mo Rejin leave. Wan Bao asked quietly, is Milord agreeing to his conditions? He's nothing more than the ruler of a few dogs, and Lushan said, smiling. If I let him fight on my behalf, he'll help me bear an otherwise inescapable fate. Why not let him do so? Xiaoyu will definitely appear, Wan Bao replied. He will not just sit idly by as Mo Rejin slaughters people left and right. I will keep him restrained, and Lushan said coldly. After the birthday passes, under the gazes of everyone present, he will have no ability to return to the heavens. At twilight, Mo Rejin had filled himself with food and wine, and he took a short nap. After night fell, he opened his eyes, changed into a set of black clothes made for agile movement, and took a seat on the bed, carefully pondering over something. He pressed his long, slender fingers against the string of his bow, waiting for Wan Bao to come give him the order. In the amber of Lanling, merchants filled almost all the seats, and the wine shop was booming with business like it never had before. Lu Su lay on the stone steps in the backyard, and he suddenly opened his eyes. He pulled out a jade whistle and blew it, its sound shrill and piercing. He blew it a few times, and A Tai came over swiftly, saying, "Stop blowing that, I'm about to go deaf." Ashinakayang and Qiu Yangxi came as well. Ashinakayang said, "The sound of this whistle made me break out in goosebumps." Qiu Yangxi chuckled. "The point is for it to have this effect, where a good half of Chang'an can hear it. Everyone's drinking outside, so the sound's very loud." Lu Su interrupted them. "And Lushan is telling him to go assassinate a merchant, in the Changle ward." "Who is that?" Everyone immediately grew tense. A Tai frowned. "There are so many merchants in the Changle ward, who knows who is who?" "Hangolan?" Qiu Yangxi asked. "No way," A Tai murmured. Lu Su described the scene. A house with carpets from the western regions laid out, with a lion's head hanging from the wall. "Hangolan has no way to escape," Ashinakayang said. Everyone exchanged glances for a moment, before Qiu Yangxi explained to Lu Su, "He's the Chang'an envoy for the caravans from the western regions, and he's also the supplier of our Lihan pollen. His information network stretches far and wide, and once in a while, he also helps us inquire after the whereabouts of some artifacts." "He's going to act tonight," Lu Su said anxiously. Hurry up and come up with a plan. Should we fight him? Atai turned and opened his fan, saying, let's go, let's set out. Follow my plan. Morajin waxed his bowstring. Outside, Wan Bao's voice said coldly, move out ba. At that, Morajin slung his quiver over his shoulder and tied a leather strap to his thigh. There were small wolf-tooth blades dipped in poison stuck through the strap. Killing a mortal requires the use of poison. Wan Bao asked. There is no harm in having them prepared, Morajin replied, before he leapt into the air, grabbing the eaves with one hand as he vaulted up onto the rooftop. This was a night covered in dark clouds, and his surroundings were pitch black. In the distance came shouts and cries of those watching the beast fight. Evidently, Enlushan and a group of military commanders were once again deriving enjoyment from the loss of human life. The goo now turned into a buzzing swarm of goo bugs that came flying after him, following behind Morajin. With a shake, Morajin turned into a pitch-black wolf about the height of a human, which raced along soundlessly on the rooftops, a gust of wind in its wake. Why me? Morajin asked. You've met all three of these people, the goo swarm said weakly. They will not suspect you easily. The black wolf lowered its head. If the person's been killed, how can I be afraid of being suspected? Li Jinglong is very careful, and if any traces are left, it will be unsafe for you, the goo swarm replied. This is also a chance for you to show your loyalty towards Milord Mara. They had to be a little more careful, carrying out a crime under the noses of those familiar with them. At least, when assassinating the target, they could not allow him to shout or make a fuss, thus causing an unnecessary leak of information. Morajin was also more familiar with Chang'an, which would spare the goo now the effort of searching around for its target. Moreover, though Hangolan was born immortal, he had had dealings with magic for a long time. Who was to say if he had any barriers set in place to protect himself? What they feared in killing Hangolan was a merchant's tendency to value his own life. For him to be able to stay in Chang'an for so long, as the leader of the merchant caravans no less, he probably had measures set up in his manner to protect himself. What they feared with killing Geshuhan was that the Liangzhou Jidushi would be on his highest guard against Enlushan, so he would not meet an envoy on his own. Morajin was the perfect candidate to alleviate those worries. As for Feng Changqing, he was probably just a convenient addition. It was a great chance too to set up an insurmountable need for revenge between Li Jinglong and Morajin. When he got to this point, Morajin grunted coldly and said, there is no need to test me in such a way. We don't have enough hands, the goo swarm replied quietly. This is not something I need to keep hidden from you. The black wolf's ears twitched, and it came to a stop. Below them spread Changle Ward, glittering with light, and from inside came the sounds of music and merrymaking. Several large houses had long since hung up lanterns with birthday congratulatory phrases written on them, and though there were still 7 days, they had already begun to hold banquets and celebrate with song and dance. We've come too early, the black wolf said. In the lulling in of the Changle Ward, women spun in intricate circles, dancing the Sogdian whirl with almost 100 small bells jangling with their movements, ringing out crisply. The merchants all applauded and praised them, and compared to the savage beast fights in the Angzi military manner, the entertainment of this place provided a different kind of scene. The dancers gathered up, then spread out, coming to the tables laid out with wine. They lay themselves in the arms of tens of merchants, unabashedly asking them to drink more, and everyone all laughed. Hangolan, his beard long and bushy, was dead drunk. He leaned in his chair, his eyes narrowed, and a serving woman came forward, asking him a few questions in a low voice. She then lifted him to his feet, and he left the banquet early, heading to the rooms in the backyard to rest first. Soundlessly, Morajin stepped into the courtyard, hiding himself behind a tree. The goose swarm followed him, buzzing as they hid in the tree's canopy. Morajin was wearing a set of black robes, blending in with the night, and he closely watched Hang Olan stumbling drunkenly around. Hang Olan pushed aside that serving woman and went into the room alone. The serving woman turned and left, but when she passed by that tree in the center of the courtyard, she suddenly came to a stop. She looked around, but since she didn't sense anything out of the ordinary, she left again. Morrigan stepped out from behind the tree, his thin face pallid and wan. He was toying with a throwing knife in one hand, and he stood outside the door. He asked quietly, "Hang Xiang." From inside the room came the sound of a snore. The goose swarm left the tree, saying quietly, "Go in right now and attack." Morrigan took a few steps back and flicked a finger, sending out a burst of qigong. There was a wang from outside the room, and light burst forth from around it, revealing a protective barrier. "You guessed right. He has a protective artifact on him," Morrigan said darkly. "As the head of the black market where all kinds of strange and precious objects are sold, how could he not have kept a little something by his side?" The goose swarm turned into Wanbao, who peeked into the room, only to see that the room was lit from the inside by the glow of a pearl. Immediately, a covetous look appeared in his eyes, and he began to chuckle evilly. The pearl ring on Hang Oian's hand was shaking uncontrollably, and not long after, he opened his eyes, waking up. "Who's there?" Hang Olan asked warily. Morrigan was currently using his qigong to hit that screen in waves, and he said, "Hang Xiang, it's me. Prince Morrigan." Hang Olan was still a little drunk, and with one hand pressed against his forehead, he recalled the protective barrier, letting Morrigan in. The nail-headed arrows shot out from the quiver on Morrigan's back, flying into the air to hover both in front and behind the room. Hang Olan was inside, washing his face, and he said something to him. "Tagla's fiancé is in the city." Not long after, a muffled grunt came from inside the room, then the sounds of something colliding with a piece of furniture. Those were only a few short bursts, however, before Morrigan quickly grabbed him. Wanbao swiftly strode in, only to see Morrigan pressing one hand against Hang Oian's forehead, his other holding the screen that had almost fallen over from the impact. Hang Oian's eyes were completely round, and a nailed arrow stuck out of the nape of his neck, from where it had flown in through the window. His throat had been pierced through. His entire body had collapsed forward stiffly, only for Morrigan's hand to catch him on the forehead. He maintained the position he had before he died, and his blood dripped down, covering the ground. Wanbao first looked at the ring on Hang Oian's hand, before he turned his gaze to Morrigan, his eyes filled with shock. "How did you kill him?" Morrigan replied coldly, "I helped him sober up after his drink." In that instant, Wanbao turned into a swarm of goo, which sank with a shua into the puddle of blood on the ground. The buzzing swarm gulped down the blood that had seeped from Hang Oian's body. That sight of a bunch of closely packed goo, swarming like a pile of ants or a pile of sticky black candy, was very disgusting to watch. Morrigan's expression, however, did not change in the slightest, and he simply watched them coldly and reservedly. Just as the goo swarm was climbing up that puddle of blood to swallow Hang Oian's corpse, a serving woman's voice suddenly sounded from the outside. "Master, I have brought the warm water." Instantly, the goo swarm stopped. Morrigan pulled off the ring on Hang Oian's finger, and the goo swarm rose into the air, taking Hang Oian's form. That form looked completely identical to Hang Olan, and it took the ring and put it on. With a woo, it pushed the door open and went outside. Morrigan grabbed Hang Oian's corpse with one hand, walking around to the other side of the screen and tossing his body there. Not long after, the Hang Olan that Wanbao had turned into finished wiping his face and came back into the room. He studied the corpse, an insatiable hunger appearing on his face again, as if he wanted to keep eating. Morrigan, however, said to him, "I'm taking the corpse away. He was once a friend, so I'd like to keep his corpse intact." Wanbao didn't insist either. He studied the placement of the objects in the room, revealing a greedy smile, and said, there must be a secret passageway in this room. Let me search for where his treasure room is. Morajin grabbed one of Hango Ian's legs and dragged his corpse out of the yard. He then transformed into a huge, black wolf, which lowered its head, took the corpse into its mouth, and leapt up onto the rooftops, bounding away. The Hangolan that Wanbao had transformed into began to knock on the walls surrounding him. He narrowed his eyes, going over every inch to determine the locations of the switches and hidden doors. In another room, Lu Su, Atai, Ashinakayan, and Qiu Yangxi stood, a large, middle-aged man with a beard in the middle of them. He wore a set of expensive robes, his face gray-green. He still had strips of cloth wrapped around his hands as he looked towards the mirror in the room. In the room appeared another identical Hangolan, who was currently searching for the hidden mechanisms to his personal treasure room. End chapter. Legend of Exorcism. Chapter 110. Black Wolf Under the Moon. The corners of Hango Ian's mouth twitched. Atai patted his shoulder and said, "Hango Xiang, looks like everyone knows you have a storeroom." Hango Lan muttered to himself, "This is the last body double I have, there's no more after this one." Qiu Yangxi chuckled. "If we hadn't let out that much of your blood earlier, we probably wouldn't have been able to trick that gu now." Ashinakayang added, "You almost failed ahead of time anyways. If the gu now had decided to return first and eat the corpse, then..." Lu Su replied, "It wouldn't have. I tampered with one of the dreams that I made before the big wolf left, so that he would have an extra memory." "Oh? What memory?" Qiu Yangxi asked. Lu Su didn't reply, instead saying, "Whatever the case, I made him think that he owed Hango Xiang a favor in the dream, which was enough to make sure he left Hango Xiang's corpse untouched." Everyone's expressions shifted slightly at that, and Hango Lan asked, "You can influence anyone's dreams, and even their memories?" Qiu Yangxi immediately gestured for Lu Su to not say any more, and Lu Su fell silent. Atai changed the topic, and he said, smiling, "Hango Xiang, Lu Su saved your life. How are you going to thank our families, Lu Su?" Hango Ian's bushy whiskers twitched a little as he suddenly changed his appearance, beaming radiantly. "If it wasn't for you all sending Prince Morajin to be a spy, my life would not be in danger. The exorcism department took a risk in carrying out such a scheme, so is it not expected that you would keep me safe?" Atai also replied, full of smiles, "Don't say it like that, Hango Xiang. If Morajin hadn't come today, and Lushan would have sent someone else tomorrow. Either way, he would only rest easy after he made sure that he killed you." Lu Su felt impatiently listening to this, his heart already elsewhere. He said, "You two keep bargaining on your own, I'm leaving." Lu Su left. Qiu Yangxi tried to persuade him to stay, but Ashinakayang indicated that he would follow him instead, and that Qiu Yangxi should stay. Hango Lan continued, "If it wasn't for Prince Morajin himself, how would I have fallen for that? Looks like I trusted you all too much." "That's not the case." Atai was still bargaining with Hango Lan, asking for an exorbitant sum while his opponent cut the price as low as he could. "And Lushan was dead set on killing you, so who knows what other ideas he would have come up with." Qiu Yangxi added, chuckling, "Hey, Atai, it's fun to help others. What's the point in seeking repayment for our kindness? The way I see it, why don't we go busy ourselves with other things first?" With that, Atai gave up as well, only for Hango Ian's expression to change. "Wait. You all set up this situation, yet you're leaving me here to fend for myself." Qiu Yangxi and Atai made to leave, and Atai shrugged, saying, "There's no way we can keep doing business like this. We can't keep waiting for nothing, so we're leaving now." Hango Lan realized that the problem had grown serious, and he asked, "When will you kill Mara?" Qiu Yangxi replied, "We'll have to wait for Zhenji to return, won't we?" "When will he return?" Atai and Qiu Yangxi both looked at him innocently, before moving to turn away again. Hang Olan originally thought that there would be a continuation, so he had never expected that Atai, after going to such lengths to find him, would first urge him to use his body double doll, then trick the Gunao into taking his form. As of now, the pearl ring that proved his identity had been changed out as well, so if he did show his face, he would either be killed by the Gunao or end up having Morajin finish his job. What was he supposed to do now? Come back, come back. Hang Olan muttered helplessly. This is truly sitting at home, only for trouble to come falling from the sky. What do you want, say it? Atai replied earnestly, Hang Xiang, if Mara is not gotten rid of, Chang'an will not be able to remain at peace for a single day. Your life will be at stake as well. Okay. Hang Olan said in frustration. Name your price. Qiu Yangxi waved the folding fan in his hand, exchanging a glance with Atai. Atai gestured for Qiu Yangxi to speak, and after a moment of thought, Qiu Yangxi said, a piece of intelligence. Hang Olan indicated that Qiu Yangxi asked freely. Why does Mara want to kill you? Qiu Yangxi asked, as if he had long since thought of this. Do you know one of its weaknesses, or do you have an artifact that can defeat it? This question, however, stumped Hang Olan. He replied angrily, how would I know why Mara wants to kill me? If I knew, would I still be here? I'd have long since escaped. Suddenly, an idea came to Qiu Yangxi. He closed his folding fan, smacked it gently against his palm, and said, come with us, I'll take you to see something. The Wanbao in Hang Oian's mirror had already found the switch and opened up Hang Oian's personal storeroom. Just as Hang Olan was about to explode from anger though, Atai pushed him, and he was forced to leave. Atai and Qiu Yangxi squished him in between them, continually cajoling him that no matter how much money he had, his life was more important. It was only after a good amount of sweet talking that they managed to lead him away from the Changle ward. The wilderness was pitch black, and a huge black wolf was currently digging away swiftly at the dirt. Not long after, it managed to make a deep pit less than a jong long. Once in a while, it would stop, its ears twitching slightly, or it would turn its head and sniff suspiciously, wary of the movements of the grass around him. After it finished digging the pit, the black wolf sent Hang Oian's corpse into it with a toss of its head. Lu Su stood at the top of a tree, watching this play out from afar. The moon came out from behind the black clouds, scattering its silver light far into the distance, winking along the black wolf's sleek fur, lighting up how it used its claws to pile up the dirt. It circled twice around that hastily constructed grave before lowering its head, sniffing a few times, and turning and leaving. Ashinakayang stood in another spot, and the two of them watched the black wolf leave together. Not long after, Lu Su climbed down of the tree, while Ashinakayang bent over, pawing through the dirt that the black wolf had used to cover up the body. Lu Su asked, can he call back that artifact? Ashinakayang replied, who cares? Let's bring it back and take a look. Ashinakayang clearly didn't want to let go of the used artifact that had created the replacement, so he dug through the dirt. Lu Su didn't have the patience to join him, so he stood straight, looking in the direction Morajin had left in. Suddenly, he turned into the white deer, and with a shua he leapt into the night sky and bounded away. Ashinakayang yelled, but he couldn't catch up with him, so he could only let him go. Night fell over Chang'an, and the white deer's entire body glowed with a clean white light, which shone over the tens of thousands of households. The cries of children lost in nightmares came to a stop, and Chang'an, which had been stirring restlessly that summer night, had a true calm fall over it. The black wolf leapt over the rooftops of Pinkongli, and with a full body shake of its fur, he took human form again. He leapt into the alleyway below, walking away along the small alley, before stopping to eat a midnight snack in front of a lamb soup shop. He used the hands that he had killed someone with to pick apart the bing, piece by piece, and put it in the soup, his fingers still stained with a little blood. Lu Su was slumped over the railings on the second floor of a building in Pinkongli, quietly watching Morrigan sitting across the street from him. Morrigan chewed carefully, as if he was lost in thought. Under the bright, gaudy lights of Pinkongli, the lines of that side silhouette plucked at the strings of Lu Su's heart, sending them quivering in a different way. There was an easy air of evil about him, as if he was a cold, dark god of death. The visitors who had left Pinkongli to eat a midnight meal, the servants who were selling hot food, the waiter who was wiping the tables, they all inexplicably avoided him, giving him a wide berth, so he was the only person sitting at his table. Lu Su watched him earnestly for a bit, before he remembered that this lamb soup shop was the first place that Morrigan had brought him to eat at when they had just arrived in Chang'an. He had told Lu Su that he really liked the flavor of this place's food. They put the whole lamb into the soup, cooking its meat until it was so tender that it was cottony soft, and the soup itself was milky white. The soup was flavored with the light fragrance of jinja, which made the lamb soup even more flavorful. The toasted bing was golden brown, and after it was torn apart, it soaked in the flavors very well. Throughout Chang'an, there was only this lamb soup place that used jinja to adjust the flavor, and when the Shiwei tribe celebrated the harvest festival, they also put jinja in to season the whole lamb soup. That was the taste of home, but Lu Su didn't have these memories, so he could not understand Morrigan's attraction for these tasty foods. But now, he could feel it. He closed his eyes, testing out sinking back into the memories of that lithe youth tainted with evil. He saw Morrigan sitting at the very edge of the Shiwei royal tribe, partaking in the harvest festival with them. The grasslands echoed with song and dance, while Morrigan sat idly, flicking a few small rocks around on the table, watching the group of people dancing the harvest dance. A mangy dog sniffed around, approaching Morrigan's feet, searching for any scraps that the diners had dropped. Morrigan suddenly lifted his foot and stepped down, his foot landing right next to that little dog. That little dog was greatly frightened, and it quickly fled. "You've grown bad," Lu Su murmured. Morrigan tossed a few copper coins down before standing and leaving. He walked into the darkness of another small alleyway, and Lu Su turned to descend the stairs, following along behind him. The dark alleyway was very quiet. Morrigan was wearing all black, and he blended into the shadows. Lu Su didn't dare to let out any loud sounds, and he slowly began to lose his sense of direction. After he thought for a moment, he figured that Morrigan was probably heading back to the Angzi military manor to report. Just as he was about to turn and take a shortcut, a gust of wind suddenly came at him from behind. Lu Su was instantly on guard, and he turned back to block. Black-robed Morrigan punched with his left and struck with a palm strike from his right, and with two quick blows, he sent a strike towards Lu Su's wrist. Lu Su bent over and turned back, slipping out from between Morrigan's legs, the two of them exchanging blows in midair. A gust of wind suddenly rose from the ground as they clashed. Lu Su originally thought that he had the upper hand in speed, but Morrigan's speed was actually even faster than his own. He turned into a shadow, fists and feet alternating, pressing up against him and not giving him any room to fight back. How has this guy's speed grown so fast? Lu Su was shocked. Before, I was always going easy on you, Morrigan said coldly, leaning down to speak into his ear. Immediately, Lu Su kicked out, only for Morrigan to slap it away. Lu Su used the force of that blow to turn in a full revolution, sending a kick at his shoulder. But in the blink of an eye, Morrigan hooked his hand around his foot, firmly holding the sole of Lu Su's foot and giving it a twist. Lu Su rose into the air from that twist, turning circles in the air. Right after, Morrigan sent him falling back towards the wall of the alley, and his back collided heavily with it. The blood in his innards roiled, and he almost coughed some up, but just as he realized things were going badly and was turning to flee, Morrigan pressed his hand against the wall, his entire body bearing down on Lu Su's. At the same time, the 7 nailed arrows left their quiver, all of them pointing at Lu Su. Return it? Mo Rijin asked quietly, with a dangerous undertone. Lu Su. Lu Su felt that in this dark shadow, Mo Rijin was like a bloodthirsty wolf, all the hairs on its body raised, as if he was about to devour him whole. Return what? Lu Su asked coldly. The arrow, Mo Rijin replied darkly. Lu Su studied him silently, while in his mind, he wondered, how exactly had Mara influenced his mind? The Mo Rijin in front of him was still himself, and he still remembered everything. Then, did he still remember the plan that he had come up with before this? Hand it over. Mo Rijin's voice suddenly stopped, and what replaced it was the widening of his eyes. Lu Su had one hand placed on his cheek, and he had tilted his head to press their lips together. Mo Rijin had never thought that Lu Su would do such a thing, but Lu Su's actions had happened as naturally as breathing. He had his eyes closed as he put all his focus into kissing him. Mo Rijin. Sorry. Their lips parted. Lu Su added expressionlessly, for a moment, I couldn't help it. And saying this, Lu Su took the chance, while Mo Rijin's thoughts were elsewhere, to leave the cage of his arms in a flash. At top speed, he fled along the wall, actually creating a shadow where he had stood. Mo Rijin hadn't recovered yet, and when he lifted his head, Lu Su had already vanished above him. Mo Rijin leapt up onto the wall opposite to him, before then somersaulting up onto another wall. With a few more leaps, he landed on the rooftops, only to see a bright moon hanging high in the sky. Lu Su had long since vanished. For a long time, Mo Rijin couldn't find anything to say. A while later, with a complicated expression, he turned and left. Lu Su was hiding amongst the rafters, right in the dead angle of Mo Rijin's vision. He panted for breath, and it wasn't until the footsteps went into the distance and vanished that he let out a sigh. He slowly crawled towards the end of the rafters, sitting there quietly. The black clouds once again came rolling in, blocking the moon. Raindrops the size of soybeans began to fall, before rain began to patter across the entirety of the city, covering the sky and earth. The amber of Lanling was closing up shop. Ashinakayan lifted up the door, sealing the front door of the wine shop. Lu Su, sopping wet, squeezed in from the crack. I was just about to go out to find you, Ashinakayan said. Where'd you run off to this time? Lu Su didn't reply. He was in low spirits, and he ignored Ashinakayan, walking into the back room of his own accord. Behind a screen, a lamp had been lit, and Qiu Yangxi, Atai and Hangolan were currently sitting at a table, bargaining away. When exactly is Li Jinglong returning? Before this, you couldn't even be bothered to see him, Qiu Yangxi chuckled. Yet now you're here, concerned about him. Hangolan let out a heavy eye, replying, how was I supposed to know that that guy, as a mortal, would be able to reach the position he's in today? Ever since the exorcism department had come together, Hangolan had had quite a few dealing with this group of people. When the Fox Yao case had happened, he just so happened to not be in the capital then. He was originally under the impression that Li Jinglong was just a mere mortal, but he never thought that he would actually become the leader of the exorcism department, and he couldn't resist sighing about how people couldn't just blindly spread the rumors they heard. Then tell us clearly. Little Lu. Atai saw Lu Su, his entire body sopping wet, walk around the screen, heading towards the backyard. Lu Su replied. Come here and take a look, Qiu Yangxi said. Lu Su didn't reply to that, and he cared even less about Hangolan, simply returning to his room. Atai glanced at Qiu Yangxi, but Qiu Yangxi only smiled and shook his head, meaning that there was no need to worry too much about him. Hangolan continued. Back then, I didn't know that that golden sword was a treasure of Akala. If I had known, how could I have sold it to him? Oh, leave off it, Atai said. Aside from him, who else would buy it? And who else would know how to use it? Here. Here, Chu Yangxi said, lifting his brush and dipping it in the ink. I'll start writing it down now. Hang Olan hesitated for a moment, before saying, this is something that we've come to an agreement on then. Understood, Atai and Chu Yangxi replied in unison. You'll stay in the amber of Lanling, Atai said, and once we're done handling the matter, we'll escort you out. This time, we'll make sure we do it so secretively that no one learns of your whereabouts. Hang Olan thought for a moment, before making his decision. Okay then. This sword was actually something that a thief stole from the Luoyang Tongtian Tower. As soon as they heard those words, Atai and Chu Yangxi immediately sat up straight. Before this, Hang Olan did not know of the origins of the Sword of Wisdom. He had only known that this was a sword that Direnja had used when he was alive, and legend had it that for his entire life, Direnja had been searching for the other weapons that formed a set with this sword. But even until he died, he only had this single sword to show for his efforts. It was dotted with rust, and it had not accompanied him to the grave, but had rather been brought beneath the Tongtian Futu. Later, when Emperor Zhongzong, Li Xian, took his throne, no one was in charge of looking after the Futu any longer. From time to time, thieves would go to plunder the place, and one of them brought from the base of the tower a few jade carvings, as well as this weapon that Direnja had wielded in his lifetime. Alongside the weapon, a will had also been stored there, and Hang Olan had once felt the urge to search for those numerous weapons. However, he slowly found that the sword had no remarkable powers at all. It was nothing more than scrap metal, so he gave up on that idea. During a merchant's guild auction, Hang Olan had his subordinates bring out this sword, only to be caught off guard by the exorbitant price that Li Jinglong named. Afterwards, Hang Olan was greatly shocked. He thought that he had passed over some priceless treasure, but after secretly observing Li Jinglong for a period of time, he only saw him repolish the sword to its original brightness and carry it by his side all day long. He didn't take any shocking actions, so this rekindled feeling of novelty slowly died away as well. Where is the will? Chu Yangxi asked. I burned it, Hang Olan said helplessly. There was one night when we were passing through the desert, and it was truly too cold to start a fire and guard against wolves. Atai was at a loss as well, and he raised his hand, gesturing for him to focus on the main points. Where are the other 5 weapons? Hang Olan thought for a bit, before replying, they were all just guesses written in the will. I even thought that Direnja had come up with some stories to trick those who came after. The will had not specified any precise locations, but had rather described 5 symbols, which were. What kind of chicken scratch is this? Who knows what this is? Chu Yangxi wailed, looking at the few pictures that Hang Olan had sketched out. The Carpiao dangled off the edge of the table, looking upwards curiously. It thought for a bit, before pointing at one of them, saying, I think I've seen the symbol somewhere before. Atai and Chu Yangxi immediately looked towards the Carpiao, both of them growing tense, but no matter how the Carpiao racked its brains, it could not remember. Hang Olan finished drawing, and he shrugged, saying, this is all that I know. Even if you ask me more, I don't have any ideas. There were 5 strange symbols drawn on the paper, and not a single one of them looked familiar. Atai and Chu Yangxi thought long and hard for quite a while, but neither of them could guess at what they meant. The Carpiao thought that they were some kind of carving on some structure. After they spent a long time pondering, Chu Yangxi announced that he was giving up on it, and he said, no matter what, we now have the first clue. This is a good start. Atai originally thought that since Mara was so wary of Hang Olan, a mere merchant, it was very possible that that was because Hang Olan knew some important information, which was why Mara was willing to exterminate him no matter the cost. But before this, Hang Olan had never even heard of Mara, let alone known about any of its weaknesses. Since a merchant who sold artifacts would be very familiar with them, That meant that there were artifacts out there that could defeat Mara, and linking that to the fact that Hang Olan had once had the Sword of Wisdom in his possession, the only possibility lay with the 6 artifacts of Akalanatha. Now, they finally had a clue. Chu Yongxi then suggested that why not find them first and hand them over to Li Jinglong, but unexpectedly, they had come across such a vague clue, so they had no choice but to wait for Li Jinglong to return before discussing their next step. The rain fell harder and harder, hualala, pattering against the eaves of the roof and the pond in the courtyard. Lu Su lay in the room, tossing and turning uneasily. Below the city built near the pass, in the midst of the blizzard, countless snowflakes blew past each other, before all dispersing in an instant. Like the stars that had exploded out when the ancient chaos had been split during the creation of the world, Morrigan's handsome face appeared amidst the light. His mouth was reciting something that Lu Su couldn't understand, but that gaze was like a warm, gentle ocean. That was what Hung Jun had told him. In his entire life, Lu Su had never seen the ocean, and neither had Hung Jun, but he had heard before that at the end of the human realm, there lay an endless, infinite sky-blue ocean. With that, they agreed that in this life, they would have to go see the ocean at least once. They had heard that it stretched endlessly, and on many nights, it had reminded Lu Su of Morrigan's blue-black eyes. That lamb soup from that place had actually been pretty good. It won out over many of the things he had eaten in Liangzhou. When Lu Su had first come to Chang'an, he had been used to watching Morrigan from behind. His shoulders were broad and powerful from years spent drawing a bow, and his back was like a mountain, giving him a sense of safety and security amidst this unknown land and his lonely thoughts. Lu Su let out a sigh, turning onto his side and closing his eyes. Where his lips had touched Morrigan's was still faintly hot. In the Angzi military manner, Morrigan tossed the quiver to the ground, while he crouched in a corner, like a resentful wolf. "Is the task complete?" Wan Feng's voice asked from outside the room. "Fuck off," Morrigan replied coldly. Wan Feng continued darkly, "Milord is ordering you to report back to him." "Fuck off." Morrigan called upon his Genkai, letting out a roar filled with resentment. The entire room shook from the force of that shout, and the outside quieted with that as well. He stuck out his tongue, slowly licking his lips, before closing his eyes. End chapter.